So, My Hero Academia Vigilantes manga chapter 95 is out, and let me just say that there's a little surprise in this chapter. And what is that surprise? That kind of predicts what's going to be happening in the next few chapters. We're just going to have to watch this review to find out right after this intro. Hit it! Hey guys, how's it going? It is your boy, Big Blue Drew 97 here, coming at you with another manga review for My Hero Academia Vigilantes manga chapter 95. And when it comes titled Moon, spoilers, there's going to be a moon in this chapter. But yeah, when it comes to this chapter of My Hero Academia Vigilantes, this one is a really unexpected one. It's a very simple chapter where we get understanding of like how everyone is at the moment, where certain people are, as well as we get story progression to what is going to be another main focus in the coming few chapters, as well as a little hint of what's to come and a special appearance from someone potentially. And who could that person be? Well, you're gonna have to watch the review to find out. And before we get into the review of this chapter, I'd like to ask you, if you haven't done so, to subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as leave a like and a comment down below if you'd like to watch the My Hero Academia Vigilante reviews. And now, without the way, let's get right into the chapter. So, we start the chapter off, weirdly enough, with two of our favorite teachers at UA, President Mike and eraserhead, Aizawa and Yamada, and they're just having a fun conversation where we have the fact that eraserhead, Aizawa, is taking over for Midnight's class because she is absent at the moment, which makes sense because she's taking care of Pop Step while she's in the hospital, and we actually do see her in this chapter. Oh, it's weird to think that this may be the only few times where we'll be seeing Midnight alive in My Hero Academia. You know, besides some flashbacks. Sad day indeed. But yeah, we get to see them having like a fun banter between each other, as we get that Eraserhead is still like caring about the vigilantes and the reader, as Yamada calls him out on that, because he figures out that, yeah, you're doing all of this busy work, you're taking over for her, but I know for a fact that you're worried. I can hear it in your voice, as President Mike is able to like apparently hear the difference in Aizawa's voice when it comes to like what trying to hide behind this like expression. He can't like hide his voice, where Aizawa's like, no, it's fine, I don't really care about them. Prince Mike's like, oh yeah, no, I know that you care about them, as we get to reveal that he's actually listening to news about the Narita incident. But what is even more interesting is that he gets a text from a particular individual, from Detective Koichi, which we know that they have connections with each other since he was a pro hero in Narita, so they do have connections with each other. But he comes back later on in this chapter and he does something big. So yeah, it's just really simple. President Mike and Aizawa just having a cool conversation, which leads really pretty much into the next part of this chapter, where we do have the reveal of the title chapter, which is Moon, where we see Koichi looking like a little bit terrified and like mesmerized with the moon right behind him. It's a very pretty sight. But from here, this is where we cut over to Midnight, where we get the conversation between Midnight and Soga. And when it comes to this conversation, basically, Midnight is asking Soga to try and help them in the investigation of like who's trying to target Pop, and Soga just doesn't want to get involved yet, and that he just wants a few things met before he even thinks about getting involved. And it primarily involves the protection of Pop Step and making sure that she's protected, where Midnight's like, yeah, everything's okay, everything's on high alert, I even sent her mother home, so everything's gonna be good. And Soga's like, all right. And so we get the confirmation that Midnight is in the vicinity of Pop Step, which is good, as well as you see that Soga still has the plan. He still has an idea of like what the plan is when it comes to protecting Pop Step, as well as like he just has like a quick like conversation with Koichi, talking about, hey Koichi, how you doing up there? You're still up there, everything's great. And Koichi's like, yeah, but you know, I haven't really like spent this long in like all of the same clothes, so I'm feeling a little gross. So Soga sends Rapt to go get some of Koichi's stuff. And oh yeah, we see forgot his name again. And we also see Moiru there, who is like a little bit concerned about everything that's going on. By everything that's going on, I mean everything that's going on with Koichi, because really no one needs to know that he feels gross wearing the same clothes over and over again. So yeah, we have Wrapped. He's going to Koichi's place, and this is very cool because this also leads into a kind of flashback to maybe one of the few or the final times that Koichi had a conversation with Pop Step as they're looking up at the moon. But what is very important is that when Wrapped comes to Koichi's location, comes to his home, he notices that someone has broken in. And because he's a semi-criminal, he doesn't care, and he just grabs some of Koichi's stuff and heads out. But we get a small look at like the dartboard with everything that Koichi has done with like Pop Step, with Knuckle Duster, with the Narita event, with that pro hero where we actually see him in his arc. We get to see what's his name? Give me a moment. Pause. Captain Celebrity. Yeah, I totally remembered his name, but that's not the part that I really want to bring up. Like I said, we're looking at the dartboard, and we see that something is actually missing. We see that a little bag that is normally at the top of the dartboard is gone, and I know for a fact that it's gone because from this moment, we actually cut over to Koichi, and like I said, Koichi and Pop Step, where they're basically, like I said, most likely the final conversation that they had before everything went down, before Makoto came in. Also, we get to see her in this chapter as well. And they're basically having like a fun conversation about how the moon is very pretty. And even though they are in this building on top of it and there are other buildings around it, how the moon is still pretty. And how Pop Step's like, oh yeah, that's very weird and like cool and deep. And Koichi's being, oblivious as always. But like I said, but in that flashback, we see that the bag is still there, meaning that someone broke in and stole that bag from Koichi's house. Now, if you remember what's in the bag, you remember that what is in it is what Knuckle Duster left Koichi, which is literally like the knuckles. What are they? Brass knuckles. I remember them. I didn't just look it up, but yeah, the brass knuckles were in the bag that belonged to Knuckle Duster, and the fact that they're gone could be indicating that someone who broke in knows or uses those knuckle. Oh gosh, what? Oh my gosh, brass knuckles. There we go. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, most likely Knuckle Duster is still alive and broke into Koichi's building to steal them so that he's preparing himself for a fight. And the reason why I bring this up, and the reason why I think it's most likely Knuckle Duster, is because of how the window was broken. It was broken in the same vein as when he first broke into Koichi's place. So most likely Knuckle Duster broke in, stole the brass knuckles, and is about to help Koichi in the fight. And that's going to be a big shock to people who didn't notice that panel. But I noticed it on my second read through. So potentially Knuckle Duster is going to be coming back, meaning that he's alive, which I mean, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, sure, he had an entire building crushed on him, but he did have a quirk, and from as far as we're aware of, like, people with quirks, their bodies are more durable, and he was extremely muscular. And, like, yeah, sure, you have a building falling on him, that doesn't mean that you're automatically dead, but there's a very high possibility that he survived and was able to get out of that situation, and he's just been recovering this entire time. So I can't wait to potentially see where this plot point goes, because I think it's going to go towards the point of Knuckle Duster coming back. So, yay! We're gonna finally get him back. He's probably one of my favorite characters in Vigilante, so I will be so happy to see him come back, if that is what that is indicating. So something else that I want to bring up when it comes to that flashback is that we also cut back to Koichi looking at the moon, and when it comes to the moon analogy, to sum up basically what he was saying, he's like, oh man, I can't wait for you to recover so that we can continuously talk, and how we're being looked upon by the same moon as a form of, like, not necessarily clarity, but a way of comforting himself, making him believe and think and know that he will eventually see Pop Step again. She's going to be well, and he's going to do whatever it takes to save her. And this could allude to more romantic relations between Koichi and Pop Step. And that's pretty much all we get for Koichi in this chapter as he's looking at the moon, hence the title of this chapter. But what is even more interesting is the final few pages of this chapter, where we see Tsukachi, Detective Tsukachi, on the phone with his sister Makoto, as well as Captain Celebrity and his wife and child, and she's trying to pry more into his investigation, and really he's not having it. He's mad. He hates that his sister is still doing this and just hangs up on her, while Makoto is like wondering, like, oh yeah, this isn't good. Like, he's not telling me anything, meaning that they don't really have like a play, or that something bad is happening, or they're in the dark as well. So she's gonna try to do her best to try to figure out what's going on in Narita, as Koichi is coming to this, not Koichi, but as Sukachi, Detective Sukachi is coming to a slight realization that everything that has been going on right now may be somewhat of the fault of the police as well as he's taking really more credibility to what Soga said about how if they were doing their jobs, then none of this would have really been happening, and even bringing up the idea that the reason why vigilantism is like a thing is to basically be like a safeguard for it when the jury or when the justice may not be able to keep up. But he also does not accept that, because he doesn't want to accept the fact that the justice system is failing, so he's going to have to put all of this burden upon himself to try and like solve this case, and to bring a particular person into jail. And who is this person? Well, we get the little cat guy, the cat officer, coming in with a warrant, and this warrant is for the arrest of Koichi Harari, I forgot his last name, also known as the Crawler, meaning that Detective Sukachi is now going to take in the Crawler, going to take in Koichi into custody, as he also gives this kind of confirmation. Like he said, the reason why vigilante exists is to basically be a safeguard and a safe way when justice fails, and he doesn't want to admit that they have failed in justice. So now he is taking action to take down the Narita vigilantes and to take back the reins over Narita itself. So now it goes from a Koichi stopping number 6, stopping a Pop Step's villain rampage, to Pop being in the hospital and potentially number 6 killing her, to a flashback to Knuckle Duster, to now in the present where Knuckle Duster's associate gets bombed. And that's something else that they bring up, is that they couldn't control that bombing, and actually the detective, I forgot his name, but he's like in critical condition, so he's still alive, but he's in critical condition. So the police building being blown up, and now having the warrants for Koichi's arrest. So now he's ready to take down the vigilantes no matter what. So this is going to most likely lead into the final battle of My Hero Academia, where now the police are going to be going after the vigilantes, the heroes are going to go after the vigilantes, and number 6 is going to be going after the vigilantes and Pop Step. And now it's just going to be Koichi, Wrapped, the gang, Moiru, and potentially Knuckle Duster trying to protect Pop Step. So this is getting very interesting. I didn't expect this from this chapter, and like I said, like that little piece of information that Knuckle Duster could potentially be alive was really cool, as well as getting to see like more of President Mike and Aizawa's like connection and their interactions. That was very nice, and seeing that even though it's been a little while since Aizawa has dealt with the vigilantes in Narita, that he still like thinks that he should be like trying to protect them, which he did get an email from Detective Sukachi, so he could potentially be going to Narita to unfortunately try to take in Koichi, aka Pop Step. So most likely Eraserhead's going to come back into the story as well, and potentially more Makoto could also be coming back into the story as well. So a lot of these plot points are coming together. This chapter has established a few more plot points that are going to come towards the climax of My Hero Academia Vigilantes, because if you didn't think that it was ending anytime soon, yeah, I think it is. It may be within the next 5 chapters, 10 chapters, but it is ending soon, and I think this is showing a more plot points to what is going to be going into the climax of this story. So, with that out the way, what do you think is going to be happening in the next chapter? I think most likely what's going on is that we're going to get the continuation of this. We're going to get Koichi being confronted by number 6 most likely, as well as seeing the detective contacting President Aizawa coming to Narita, and potentially something will go down tomorrow which could put Pop Step's life in danger. Now, Midnight's probably not going to die, because she's already dead in the present story of My Hero Academia, but she could potentially be hurt and try to defend Pop Step. A lot of things could be happening. We just know that Koichi is going to eventually be involved with both the police, the heroes, and number 6, and that may be coming in next chapter. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this review. I enjoyed recording it. If you liked it, leave a like down below, leave a comment, do all of that cool jazz, hit the notification button, do all of that cool jazz like I said, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you in my next video. So goodbye!